You hear that? Exactly. There's nothing to be heard. Silence is so beautiful. Quietness is so beautiful. When you're able to embrace silence, when you're able to embrace stillness in your life, is when all the answers to your life's problems come to you. Because you're finally in a position to receive. You're finally in a position where the Most High will send you the downloads that you need to move forward in your life. But the problem is, most people live in motion. Most people live in autopilot. Most people do not actually take time to reflect, to sit down, to look within, so that way they could find the answers to their life's problems, you know? And this is a part of self mastery, this is a part of self governance, is self examination. Every man should be able to sit in silence. Every man should be able to dwell without needing to speak, without needing music, with being in environments that are quiet. You know, if you live in a big city like I do, live in LA, you know the city's very loud. The city's very, noisy. There's always things going on, movement going on, right? And that steals energy away from you, whether you know it or not. It steals precious energy that we have away from us because we're overstimulated. Those of us that are in a big city, we are extremely overstimulated, whether we realize it or not. And if you've never experienced what it's like to not be overstimulated, I recommend you to go travel somewhere where it's quiet, where there's no other noise besides, you know, animals and nature and things like that. Once you get in an environment like that, you're going to understand why the Most High had people in the ancient world have acres of land. You know, everybody had their own land, their own living space. Nowadays, we live like rats. We're all bunched up. And whether we realize it or not, everybody's negative energy, positive energy spreads, right? My point is, in today's topic, today's video, I want to go over why you need to sit in silence and why you need to embrace being silent. You know, silence is beautiful. Silence is lovely. Silence allows you to receive. Silence is also weight. Silence reveals the weight that you carry that you don't know you have. Silence reveals the tension. Silence, is peace. Most people, like I said, live on autopilot. They don't understand why they're doing what they're doing, what they want to do with their life. And if they do, they run on an old script, you know? I want to have a house, I want to have a family, that's good. Those are great things. But on a day to day, if you ask the average person, what do you want to do in your life? Some people answer you and, they'll say they want something, yet they never act on it, yet they never do it. It's because they're stuck in their own operating system, their old operating system, I mean. For example, this is the guy who says he wants to lose weight, he wants to be in better shape, but he's never able to do it. He waits into New Year's to set resolutions, has 2 weeks of motivation, then he burns out. This happens because he hasn't embraced the silence. This happens because he hasn't really figured out who he needs to become to get to his desired life, his desired outcome, right? Silence reveals these things, you know. The one who speaks the most is often the ones who's seen the most performative in life, right? When you're able to embrace silence, when you're able to embrace moments of solitude, this is when you gain the most clarity. This is when you have your most excellent and exceptional insights. And every man needs to be able to embrace solitude. This is when ideas are going to be able to flow. This is when you're going to have the space to build. You see in my videos, like I'm in parks a lot of the time. And honestly, it's because the park allows me space to breathe. It allows me to have, you know, it allows my mind to just be. There's nobody around me. This is why you see in Christ in the scriptures constantly withdraw to a mountain, was to be away from everybody else. So that way he could think freely. That way he could receive from the Father freely. And if you're not doing this constantly, these practices of being still, being separate from other people, getting away from the noise, you are constantly going to be stuck in your life. You're never going to be able to come through to realizations. You're never going to be able to do the introspective work to become the man that you say you want to be, to live the desired life that you want. You're never going to be able to heal. You're never going to be able to be congruent, right? You know, I think every person should take time, when they're driving, to not listen to music. Most people cannot do that. To take time when they're sitting down eating dinner without being on their phone. Because, these distractions, these stimulants steal from us. They steal our natural thought process. They steal, the ability to receive ideas. Most people cannot be alone. Most people cannot be alone with themselves. And this is what this video is for, is to place the bat signal that it's time for you to be alone. It's time for you to sit down with your thoughts, to sit down with your traumas, the things that you don't want to face, and really, really dig deep within yourself and ask, where am I still performing? Where am I incongruent? What am I avoiding? What am I running away from? This skill, being still, of sitting in silence, allows you to become your own therapist. It allows you to observe your own thoughts, your own ideas. It allows you to find your voice. We've all been programmed by society. All of us. All of us, no matter what. Unless you're one of the blessed ones that never watched any type of media or anything like that, you know, you're blessed, honestly. Because you never would have to struggle with finding your own voice, finding your own ideas, finding your own thoughts, right? Most of you don't know who you are because you never take the time to sit down and be by yourself, or just be by yourself in general. And what are some practical things that we could do? Like what are some ways that, we could just embrace, being silent, or like, sit introspection, basically. Because that's really what it is. It's doing the introspective work. You know, you need to ask yourself questions daily, right? When situations pop up that make you feel uncomfortable, that make you feel weird, or when you're struggling with hitting certain goals, you have to ask yourself, why are you struggling? And don't look outwardly, because that's what a lot of people do. They look outwardly. Let's use a weight loss, for example. The guy who wants to lose weight, but he could stay consistent for 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, but he just could never get himself over that hump. Why is he stuck? That dude is stuck because he's looking outwardly, he's looking externally and saying to himself, okay, maybe I need to, like, maybe I need to stop, you know, eating all this junk food. Maybe I need to cut these people off. That way I could, actually proceed. And sometimes those things do help you. But then there are moments where that man, he can't ever stay consistent because he eventually falls off. He self-sabotages. Why does that happen? Is because he has an identity issue. There's things inside of him that he has not healed, you know? There's things that he associates with, his body associates with, that doesn't allow him to overcome his obstacles. So now he's stuck in a cycle. He's stuck in a plateau where he cannot become the man that he wants to. He cannot lose the weight that he wants to because he's stuck in a cycle. And he'll go to people and the people just tell him, "Oh, just do it. Like it's not hard." No, he has an internal block that he has to work out. And the only way he's going to be able to work it out is through silence. Or what about the people that, they find a woman or a woman finds a man and then they self-sabotage. They're avoidant. They have an avoidant personality. So when things get too real, they run away. When things get too real, things get too serious, they run away. It's because there's some experience inside of them that they haven't healed yet. Time heals things, right? But time heals things when you confront those old experiences, those old demons that plague you, and you know what they are: fear, doubt, experiences of loss, where you haven't framed it differently in your mind. You know, for me, like in my example, I used to identify or define myself by the loss of the life that I had. I had the woman, I had the business, I had the autonomy over my life, the things, I had the things that I really wanted in my life. And I used to define myself by that. And it would block me. It would block me from expressing myself. It would block me from becoming who I am today. Like it just would hold me back. Even in like, starting another business, it took me time to actually get the ball rolling because I was still living off of that failure. I was still seeing myself like, you failed. You failed, instead of, facing it. And when I finally did face it, I felt free. It didn't feel like such a big hurdle to overcome now because I did all the introspective work to overcome those demons that I was facing. We all have them. We all have them. We all have fears. We have our doubts. We have pride. We have, all types of insecurities that you have to face within yourself. And you could only do this in silence. You could only do this in solitude. You could only do it alone. I could be on the camera. I could give you the solutions to your problems. I could tell you, maybe, we would resonate on a certain issue, right? Fear of being seen, right? You're afraid that people are going to judge your opinion and, your thought. I could give you the solution to those things, but you have to be the one who comes to peace with it, right? It's like, if you guys ever seen Rocky 3, in Rocky 3, Rocky loses his self-belief. And his wife tells him, "You're the only one who has to live with carrying all this fear inside of you." And that was the moment that Rocky was able to overcome that fear. Sometimes other people could reveal those things to you. But if you ever want to become self-sufficient, you have to be able to examine yourself and look outside of yourself, looking at yourself, and examine your behaviors, examine your thoughts, examine your emotions. And those thoughts, when you finally quiet down, when you finally stay still and just be, will come to you. No music, no people around you, just you and whatever environment you're in will bring you the clarity that you're looking for. The Most High will send you the download. Peace.